I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but stop motion movies have always had a certain charm to them. And look at some of the review scores of these movies. Seems like I'm not the only one who loves them. But out of all the stop motion movies, everyone seems to know one. That one being Disney's Nightmare Before Christmas. And everyone knows its story was made by Tim Burton. But some forget that Tim didn't actually direct Nightmare Before Christmas. No, that responsibility fell onto Henry Selick. Now, Henry is also known for directing another loved stop motion movie. And that movie, also being one of my favorites, is Coraline. Coraline was released in 2009 and was based off a book that was released in 2002. My love for this movie also isn't an unpopular opinion. I mean, what's not to love? Her name has an O in it, I have an O in my name, it just makes sense. So great, now you guys know a movie that I really enjoy. So what? Well, to be honest, I've seen this movie a lot, especially since it got onto Netflix. So, with some research and watching the movie like 100 times, a theory has popped up. And that theory is whether Coraline really escaped from the other mother's world. Well, let's look into it. Well, before we look into the theory, I think we need to look into the plot of Coraline. So if you haven't seen the movie, I strongly urge you to do so before watching this video. I mean, like I said, it's on Netflix. And now that the spoiler warning is out of the way, here is the plot of the movie. Coraline Jones and her parents moved from Pontiac, Michigan, to their new home in Ashland, Oregon. Her new neighbors include Mr. Bobinski, Miss Spink, and Miss Forcible. Due to her parents constantly working, Coraline frequently explores the apartment out of boredom. While exploring, she meets a black cat and Wybie, the grandson of the landlady, whose twin sister mysteriously disappeared years ago. Wybie gives Coraline a button-eyed rag doll that resembles her. The doll then lures her to a small door in the living room, which is bricked up and can only be unlocked with a button key. That night, she goes through the door, where the bricks have been replaced by a corridor to the other world, inhabited by button-eyed doppelgangers, of people from her world. Coraline meets the other mother and other father, who gives her more attention and are more entertaining than her real parents. After several trips to the other world, the other parents invite Coraline to live there forever, but to do so, she has to sew buttons into her eyes. Terrified, Coraline attempts to flee, but the other mother sees through the plan and blocks all the exits to the real world. The cat appears and reveals the sinister truth about the other world and the other mother. Coraline is then caught and imprisoned. There, Coraline meets the ghosts of the previous victims, including the missing twin sister of Wybie's grandmother. They reveal that the other mother, whom they refer to as Beldam, created and sent the button-eyed ragdolls to resemble them in order to spy on their lives. With the promise of a better life, she lured them into the other world where she sewed buttons over their eyes and consumed their lives. To free their souls, their real eyes need to be found. Coraline promises to help. Coraline is then suddenly rescued from her imprisonment by the other Wybie. He helps her escape back to the real world. But Coraline discovers that her parents are missing. She eventually deduces that they have been kidnapped by Beldam. Coraline decides to go back in to save them. Then the cat advises Coraline to propose a game. If Coraline cannot find her parents and the ghost's eyes, she'll let buttons be sewn into her eyes. But if she can, then they'll be set free. The Beldam agrees. Then Coraline goes to areas where the ghost's eyes are hidden, beats the bosses, for lack of a better term, to get all the eyes, and then she confronts the Beldam, tricks her, and escapes, releasing the souls of the missing kids and freeing her parents. And like that, a happy ending. Or so I thought. After examining everything, I had some questions. Remember how I said Coraline escaped that first time when the other Wybie helped out? Well, what if she never really truly escaped? Let me explain. Now, the first thing that brought me to explore this theory was the scene from the movie where other Wybie helps Coraline escape. The things I noticed was when other Wybie took off his glove and blew the sand, the sawdust, whatever it is, he blew it and it flew away. This was to show Coraline why he couldn't come with her in her world. In the other world, he has life. This only happened because the door to the normal world was opened. Doing this allowed some of the magic to escape, and so he showed not only to us but to Coraline that in her world, other Wybie would just be a rag doll, like the doll real Wybie gave her. So she has to escape without him. So he bravely defies the other mother's demands and sacrifices himself to save Coraline. Or did he? Thinking about this scene, creatures from the other world have entered into the normal world. The circus mice, who happen to be rats, have been to the normal world multiple times. Like when they lured Coraline in for the first time, or when they went to get the key for the other mother. And guess what? They're made of the same stuff other Wybie is made of, as you can see when the cat kills one of them. And not to mention that the doll the other mother uses to spy on Coraline moves on its own as well. We don't see it move, but at the beginning of the film, the doll moves on its own to lure Coraline to the door. So why did other Wybie show that he is made of sand? Well, let me dive deeper with another scene to answer that. Later on in the movie, Coraline has to face other dad, but during the beginning of the fight, the other father says,
"Sorry. So sorry, Mother making me."
The other mother is making him fight Coraline. The other mother is in control. Think about this. Why do all the other creatures other mother makes follow every order she says or demands? But all of a sudden these two found a way to beat her control? This is her world. Everything is up to her. She created everything from the house to the creatures. She has done this for hundreds of years, and now all of a sudden she is beaten from a young girl and two of her own creations? So here is what I am proposing. The reason why other Wybie showed that he wouldn't survive in the normal world is because the other mother wanted her to think that. What if other Wybie wasn't doing something valiant, but the other mother was making him save Coraline to trick her into believing she was safe? I'm proposing that when Coraline is pulled from her imprisonment, she is now permanently trapped in the other mother's world. So when she escapes from the other world, she is still in the other world, and the other mother has recreated the normal world to trick Coraline. I mean, think about it. When Coraline returns, things seem normal, but also seem different. You can see Coraline is clearly distraught that her parents are missing when she returns, but she doesn't call the cops. I mean, I know she's young, but she's 11. I knew to call the police if there was an emergency when I was 5. She is a smart and capable young girl. This is what she would do. And it's not like she immediately knew that the other mother took her parents. She only figures this out later that night when the cat shows her in the mirror that she took them. And before that, she goes to Miss Spink and Miss Forcible for help. And I know she called those two
Miss Spink and Forcible? But you said they're dingbats.
but they're still adults that should know to call the police for help or try to help her find her parents. And yet these two adults don't. They just give her an item that may help her and she goes off. How many adults do you know that would let an 11-year-old whose parents are missing just go off alone? This is very odd and very unrealistic. And then I realized that this is how the other mother portrays those two. So this is how she creates them to appear to Coraline. Instead of helping, they just complain about not going to see a play that night. The other mother knows this is how Coraline views these two. And not to mention that at the end of the movie, when her parents return home, a day would have passed since their disappearance. Even though they act like nothing happened, wouldn't they notice a whole day had gone by? Especially when they keep referring to an important project they need to turn into their boss. And plus, Miss Spink and Miss Forcible never mention their reappearance of the parents after they return. None of this makes sense. Why would other Wybie show Coraline he can't survive in her world when we see plenty of other mothers' creations surviving in Coraline's world? How can other Wybie and other dad go against the other mother? Because they aren't. She's tricking Coraline into believing they are to make her feel safe. Why doesn't Coraline, Miss Spink, and Miss Forcible call the authorities when the parents go missing? Or why doesn't Miss Spink and Miss Forcible help her find her parents? Because things aren't right in this world. And by that it means that the other mother has switched things around to trick Coraline into believe she has escaped from the other world. Everything isn't normal. And that is because the other mother has recreated the normal world, the normal people, to trick Coraline into believing she is safe. Coraline isn't safe though. Unaware to her, she is still trapped. And by accepting the world she is in and believing it is real. And why is other mother doing this? Think about it. Coraline refuses the buttons. So what is the best way to make a strong-willed and smart person accept you? By tricking them to believing they are safe when in reality, you are still in control of everything. And by doing this, the other mother is indoctrinating her and gaining control over her until it is too late. Think of it like the ending of the Krampus movie. Even though the family has been taken, they are together, just trapped together inside a small world. But unlike Krampus, for the meantime in Coraline, she is unaware of the other mother's trickery and her imprisonment for now. I imagine, like the other children, she will soon learn of it and will eventually face the facts that she is trapped, as she fell for the other mother's tricks. And that trick is fooling Coraline to believing that she is in her world, but in reality is trapped in the world created by other mother. And as she is trapped there, the other mother will get what she wants with Coraline, and soon will join the other ghosts hiding under the covers. And the cherry on top of that is the cat at the end of the movie. You see the cat and it walks through, referencing earlier in the film when he could disappear in the other world. So what does this mean as he's in the normal world? Well, it seems to me that he is not in the normal world. Even though Coraline is out of view, I think this is a hint to the viewer that they are still in the other world, and that's why the cat still has the ability to disappear like this. After all, in the normal world, the cat can't talk and the cat does not have supernatural powers. But in the other world, he can talk and he does have these powers. So like I said earlier, this is just the movie hinting to us that Coraline had not escaped. Looks like in the end, the other mother truly won the game. The mind game with Coraline. And now with Coraline's eyes, she can eat up her life as well. But hey, who knows? After all, this is just a theory, so we can all guess and discuss what was the real ending to Coraline. So please tell me, what are your thoughts on this theory in the comments below? I would love to see your guys' thoughts. And if you liked what you watched, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. And if you'd like to support me, I now have a Patreon, so if you're feeling generous, please feel free to visit it. But again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time.